Welcome, everyone. It is Thursday, March 5, 2026, and we are absolutely thrilled to be sitting down with you today. I'm Sherry.
And I'm McWayne.
And before we even jump into today's topic, we really have to give a massive shout out to all of you listening right now.
Oh, yeah. A huge thank you.
Seriously, thank you for tuning in to our previous deep dive where we tackled the question of whether PEI is safe.
That was an intense one.
It was. That discussion about the fentanyl situation in Prince Edward Island was heavy, but your engagement, the thoughtful perspectives you shared in the comments, it truly highlighted why we love having these conversations with you.
We really do appreciate it. Please continue to comment, hit that like button, and share this podcast.
Yes, please do.
When you share these deep dives, it helps so many others benefit from the various topics and insights we unpack here.
Exactly. And remember, the entire mission of this show is to dive deep into the community issues and global happenings that actually matter to you. In fact, during our last edition, we asked you to drop your suggestions in the comments for what we should cover next.
And you definitely delivered.
You really did. Based on your overwhelming requests, today we are tackling one of the most highly anticipated and complex topics out there, IRCC using AI to refuse immigration applications. What you must know before you apply.
It is a massive subject. There are a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah.
But before we get into the weeds, we have to issue a very clear, mandatory disclaimer.
Super important.
Neither of us are certified Canadian immigration lawyers or immigration consultants.
Right. We are strictly here to analyze the landscape. Our goal today is just to break down what immigration consultants, the public, and the latest source materials are reporting regarding Canadian immigration applications.
Exactly. We are not providing legal advice. We're providing you with the context and the insights you need to be well informed.
And just a quick note for any entrepreneurs or business owners tuning in. If you want to advertise your products or services right here on the Deep Dive, we would absolutely love to connect with you.
For sure. You can reach out by sending a detailed message to deepdive247@gmail.com.
All right, let's get right into it. The headlines are everywhere right now. People are terrified that a machine is instantly rejecting their Canadian immigration applications.
Yeah, the panic is real.
It is. But to understand the reality of immigration, refugees, and Citizenship Canada's, or IRCC's new artificial intelligence strategy, we really need to set a baseline here.
Right.
Is this use of AI a completely new phenomenon that just popped up overnight? Because I think a lot of people feel like it is.
They do, yeah. And that is actually one of the biggest misconceptions we need to clear up right away. The use of advanced analytics and artificial intelligence in Canadian immigration is not brand new.
Not at all.
According to IRCC's own historical data, they have been experimenting with advanced analytics since 2013.
2013.
Yeah, through what they call the Advanced Analytics Solutions Center.
So they've been doing this for over a decade. Do we have any idea of the scale here? Are they just testing this on a few hundred files behind closed doors?
Not at all. The baseline is staggering.
Yeah.
The sources note that over 7 million applications have already been assessed using some form of automation or advanced analytics.
Wow, 7 million.
Yeah, and that's across both temporary and permanent residence programs. But, and this is key, the technology they used historically was very different from what is causing the panic today.
Right, it wasn't ChatGPT reading your file.
Exactly. The older systems were largely about managing volume. Think of it like a highly sophisticated email spam filter.
Okay, a spam filter.
It was designed to automate routine administrative tasks, identify potential fraud patterns based on massive sets of historical data, and prioritize low-risk files so they could be processed faster.
So it was basically looking at data points and routing things. Put this one in the fast lane, put this one in the manual review lane.
Precisely. It was a sorting mechanism.
Okay, so if they've been using this spam filter type of routing technology since 2013 to handle 7 million applications, why is there suddenly a massive panic in the immigration community right now? What changed?
What changed is the introduction of generative AI tools into the decision support process.
Generative AI.
Yeah. There is a monumental difference between historical data sorting and generative AI. We're talking about systems that don't just route data.
Hmm.
They generate text, they create summaries, and they conduct complex analyses of an applicant's entire file.
That is a huge shift.
It really is. Under this newly released AI strategy, these generative tools are being utilized to verify the completeness of applications, assess client eligibility, identify anomalies, and critically summarize vast amounts of documents and information for the human officers.
I can totally see why that would make people nervous. I mean, having an algorithm flag a missing signature is one thing, but having it summarize a 200-page dossier of someone's entire life into a one-page brief for an officer, that feels entirely different.
It changes the entire dynamic of how an application is perceived.
Right. But what is IRCC's official stance on this? Are the machines actually making the final call to refuse an application?
IRCC's official stated position is very clear on this, and we can basically call it the human rule.
The human rule?
Yeah. The AI tools are not supposed to make final decisions, and they are not supposed to recommend refusals. The system is designed purely as decision support.
So a human is still at the wheel.
Officially, yes. The human officer remains absolutely responsible for reviewing the file, verifying the AI's generated output, and ultimately making the final decision on the application.
Okay, that sounds reasonable in theory. The AI reads the massive file, provides a summary, the officer reviews it, and efficiency goes up.
In theory, yes.
But I'm looking at the reports from immigration practitioners in our sources, and it seems like the reality on the ground is getting incredibly complicated.
Oh, it's very complicated.
Specifically, there was a groundbreaking express entry refusal letter recently that practically broke the internet in the immigration world.
Yes. This specific case is exactly why legal experts are raising alarms right now. Practitioners recently flagged what appears to be the very first express entry refusal letter that explicitly references the use of generative AI in its text.
I read the exact quote from that letter in the source material, and it genuinely gave me pause. The letter sent to the applicant explicitly stated, quote, IRCC used generative AI to support the processing of your application. All generated content was verified by the officer of record, unquote.
Yeah.
At first glance, you might think, well, they are being transparent about using the tool. That's a good thing. But why did the substance of this specific letter cause such a massive uproar?
The uproar happened because the logic the AI used to build the refusal was completely broken.
How so?
The AI-generated reasoning cited a specific NOC code, a National Occupational Classification code, that did not appear anywhere in the applicant's express entry application.
Wait, it just made it up?
Yes. It essentially hallucinated a detail and then used that fabricated detail to build a totally disconnected analysis of the applicant's submitted evidence.
That is wild. It's like when you ask a chatbot for a chocolate chip cookie recipe, and it gives you a beautifully written step-by-step guide that confidently tells you to add a cup of bleach.
Exactly.
It sounds authoritative, the formatting is perfect, but the substance is completely disconnected from reality and actually quite dangerous.
That is a brilliant comparison. And when applied to immigration law, observers are pointing out a very dangerous psychological paradox that impacts applicant trust.
Tell me more about that.
When legal experts reviewed this refusal letter, they noted that the language was highly professional. It was completely coherent. The grammar was flawless.
And human beings are naturally wired to equate eloquence with accuracy. If something reads like a highly articulate official wrote it, we tend to just believe it.
Exactly. Beneath that veneer of perfect grammar, the legal reasoning was fundamentally flawed. The danger here is that flawless presentation can mask dangerous misinterpretations.
So if an officer is managing a massive backlog, overworked, and reads a beautifully written, highly confident AI summary, human nature suggests they might trust it without digging deep enough to catch the hallucination.
Right. The flawless grammar creates a false sense of security for the officer.
And when we are talking about life-changing information, someone's career, their family's ability to stay in the country, their entire future, a perfectly written mistake is still a mistake that derails a life.
It really is.
If I'm an applicant, hearing that an AI might hallucinate a code and ruin my chances makes me want to know exactly how this system works. Which brings us to what observers are calling the transparency gap. How do we know what AI models IRCC is actually using?
We don't. And this is a critical point of concern. Despite publishing an overall AI strategy, there is currently no detailed public explanation of the specific generative AI models IRCC is employing right now.
None at all.
None. We do not know what models they are, what data they were trained on, or what inherent biases they might carry.
So there is no instruction manual available for the public to review.
Nope. Furthermore, there is no publicly available algorithmic impact assessment specifically addressing these generative tools.
What is that exactly?
An algorithmic impact assessment is a standardized document used to evaluate and mitigate the potential risks of an AI system before it is deployed on the public.
Right.
Because that assessment is not publicly available, applicants are left completely in the dark.
So you have a literal black box reading your life's work, summarizing it for a busy officer, and you have absolutely no idea how it's judging you.
Exactly.
That leads us right into the most practical part of our deep dive today. Because this new system has created a brand new, highly sensitive automated red flag that applicants must be aware of. Let's talk about the danger of template-style job descriptions and the trap of the NOC code.
This is perhaps the most vital piece of the puzzle for anyone preparing an application right now. In the past, when applicants were trying to prove their work experience matched a specific National Occupational Classification, or NOC code, they would often look at the official government website's description of that job. And to ensure the officer understood the match, they would heavily borrow or paraphrase that exact phrasing for their own employment letters.
Which makes sense logically. If the government says a marketing manager does X, Y, and Z, you want your letter to say you did X, Y, and Z so there's no confusion.
It used to make sense. But immigration consultants are now reporting a severe shift. IRCC is actively refusing applications where the applicant's work experience descriptions closely mirror or paraphrase those official NOC descriptions.
Wait, they are actively refusing them for sounding too much like the official definition. How does an algorithm even judge that?
Think about how AI pattern matching works. An algorithm can instantly compare your employment reference letter against the massive public NOC database. If the similarity score is too high, it gets flagged.
Wow.
The refusal letters are now literally stating that the job duties appear, quote, closely adapted from the NOC profile. The system assumes you just copy the test answers rather than actually performing the duties in the real world.
So what actually happens if an algorithm flags your job description as closely adapted?
The immediate result is that the human officer, relying on that algorithmic flag, may reject your claimed Canadian work experience entirely.
And what's the fallout of that?
To understand the gravity, we have to look at the Comprehensive Ranking System, or CRS. The CRS is the point-based system IRCC uses to score and rank candidates. You get points for your age, your education, your language skills, and crucially, your work experience in Canada.
So losing that experience isn't just a minor deduction.
Far from it. If that experience is rejected, your CRS score is recalculated downward. You could drop hundreds of points instantly.
That's brutal.
It can take you from being at the top of the pile, ready for an invitation to apply, to the absolute bottom indefinitely. In many cases, the sources note it results in a total loss of eligibility for the Canadian Experience class.
Which is the specific immigration pathway designed for people who have already been living and working in Canada.
Exactly.
That is devastating. You lose your entire pathway because you thought using the government's own vocabulary was the safest bet.
Yeah, it's a huge trap now.
Hearing all this about automated pattern matching and perfectly written AI hallucinations is daunting. If I'm submitting my application tomorrow, how do I outsmart an algorithm that thinks I'm plagiarizing a government website?
You have to be strategic.
Let's run through 5 essential, non-negotiable preparation tips based strictly on the source material we've analyzed. I'll let you take the lead on the first one.
Gladly. Tip number 1, avoid generic descriptions. As we just explored, never copy or closely paraphrase official NOC job descriptions. It is the absolute fastest way to get your file flagged by a pattern matching algorithm.
But what does that look like in practice for tip number 2, which is provide employer-specific details? If I can't say I managed a team because it's too generic, what should I say?
You need to translate generic duties into your specific reality. Instead of saying managed a team, your letter should say something like managed a team of 12 software developers using agile methodology to deliver a specific internal logistics product.
Okay, I see.
Your work experience letters cannot sound like a textbook. They need to detail the actual day-to-day duties you performed using the specific language and context of your actual workplace.
That makes perfect sense. Tip number 3, build strong supporting evidence. Is a detailed reference letter from my boss enough anymore?
Not in an algorithmic system. You cannot rely on a single document. You need to back up your claims with hard proof.
Like what?
We are talking about submitting employment contracts, consistent pay stubs, tax documents, and detailed employer verification letters. You have to establish undeniable real-world credibility that an algorithm can cross-reference.
Which feeds directly into tip number 4. Be precise and consistent. If an algorithm is cross-referencing my documents, I assume it's going to catch things a human might just glaze over.
Exactly. Think of the AI as an unsupervised, highly confident paralegal that never sleeps. Automated systems are incredibly efficient at cross-checking dates, job titles, and minor details across multiple PDFs.
So if there's a typo,
If your resume says you started in June, but your employer letter says July, a human might realize it's a typo. The algorithm will catch that inconsistency instantly and potentially flag it as an anomaly.
that requires a totally different level of proofreading.
Oh, absolutely.
And that brings us to the final overarching mindset shift. Tip number 5. Assume algorithmic screening.
This is the most important takeaway. You must proceed with the assumption that your file will be algorithmically screened or categorized at some point in its journey.
Right.
That means your data must be perfectly clear, highly specific, and logically organized. You're essentially writing for a machine to parse your data accurately first, so that when the human makes the final call, they are looking at a clean, unflagged summary.
Those are 5 incredibly robust tips. Do not take shortcuts with your documentation. As we start to bring this deep dive toward a close, we need to address the elephant in the room from the source material.
The big debate.
The fundamental debate surrounding all of this, efficiency versus fairness, is introducing this technology worth the risk?
It is the core tension of government AI use worldwide. On one side of the debate, you have the undeniable argument for efficiency. The reality of the volume IRCC deals with is staggering. Canada receives millions of immigration and visa applications every single year. The system is fundamentally overwhelmed.
And we've all seen the headlines over the years about massive processing backlogs, people waiting years just to get a simple answer on a permit.
Exactly.
The pro-AI argument is that it can standardize how documents are reviewed, identify fraud much faster than a human looking at a screen, and theoretically, by handling the routine verifications, it frees up human officers to spend their actual cognitive energy on complex, nuanced cases.
That is the intended design. But the counter-argument, the fairness argument, carries incredible weight. We're talking about inherent risks to applicant fairness in a system where the stakes could not be higher. These aren't just files in a cabinet being optimized. These are life-altering decisions.
If a flawless-sounding but factually incorrect AI summary misleads a busy, overworked human officer, then all those efficiency gains mean nothing to the person whose life was just derailed.
Right.
You cannot justify clearing a backlog if the cost is the loss of human accountability and fundamental fairness. If the machine hallucinates an NOC code and an officer rubber stamps the refusal because they are pressured to meet a quota, the system has failed the applicant entirely.
This raises the ultimate question of how this is balanced moving forward. AI is not going away. It will almost certainly continue to expand within immigration systems globally. The challenge isn't whether it will be used, but how responsibly it is implemented, monitored, and regulated.
If IRCC wants to maintain the trust of applicants and the general public, what is the one concrete, actionable step they must take right now based on the gaps identified in these reports?
The most critical step Canadian immigration authorities must take to improve public oversight is immediate transparency. Specifically, IRCC must publicly release a detailed algorithmic impact assessment addressing the generative AI tools they are currently utilizing.
They have to put the manual out there.
Yes. Applicants have a fundamental right to know exactly what models are evaluating their lives, what the known error rates are, and exactly how the parameters of judgment are set. Until that assessment is public, the transparency gap remains a massive trust gap.
I completely agree. If an algorithm is summarizing your life's achievements, you deserve to read the manual on how it works. And that leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to mull over today.
Let's hear it.
Imagine pouring years of your life, your education, and your hard-earned savings into a dream, only to realize that the first entity to judge your worthiness wasn't a person, but a hidden string of code looking for a specific pattern of words. How would you adjust the way you tell your own life story if you knew a machine was the one tasked with summarizing it?
It completely changes the paradigm of how we present ourselves on paper. You are no longer just telling a story. You are structuring data.
It really does change everything, and we want to know what you think about this. Please drop your thoughts, your concerns, or even your own experiences with the immigration system in the comment section so we can keep this vital discussion going.
We read all of them.
And while you're there, tell us what other happenings in the world or in Canada you want us to dive deep into for our next edition. Your suggestions literally drive the direction of this show.
And one final reminder. If you are looking to get your product or service in front of an incredibly engaged, curious audience, you can advertise right here on The Deep Dive. Reach out to us with a detailed message at deepdive247@gmail.com. We would love to partner with you.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation today, for bringing your curiosity, and for spending your time with us. Stay informed, stay prepared, and we will see you back here for the next Deep Dive.